Hi everyone, it's Alym here. I am so excited about this video. A few weeks ago, I put out a request on LinkedIn to people who had just written and passed the CFE, and I said, look, if you've written and passed, could you give some advice to my students about how to study, what worked well for you, some tips and tricks in writing cases, because I thought it would be really cool for you guys to not just hear from me about how to do well on the CFE and how to write cases, but from students who have just gone through it. So in this video, what I'm going to share with you are some of the verbatim, uncut stories and tips and tricks from people who have passed the CFE and who have been successful so that you can learn from what they did that worked for them, and in hopes that this will help you in your studies as well. Let's get started.
Hi students! Before I get into my 3 tips for the CFE, the first thing I want to say above all is just believe in yourself. You can do it, you can do it. Don't compare yourself to others during your study time, just focus on you. So my first tip is to keep your notes from university and keep your notes from however you get to the CFE, whether that is PEP or MPAC or however you're getting to the stage where you're going to write the CFE. Keep your notes. You're going to thank yourself when it comes to CFE time and you need some brushing up on technical. My second point is to make a to-do list for every day that you're studying. This is going to keep you disciplined. It's going to keep you accountable to yourself. It's going to keep you motivated. And frankly, it's going to keep your nerves down because you know that every single topic that you're ever going to need to know for the CFE is going to get covered. And this is the day it's going to get covered. So you're going to know, you're going to see your study plan and you're going to just feel more calm knowing you know it's all going to get covered. The third tip I have for you is to keep a case checker. So for every single case that you write down the things that you did well for every single technical competency that you're going to continue to do, and write down everything that you maybe didn't do so well and you vow that you'll never do again. That way you're consistently tracking your progress, you're consistently ensuring that you're doing things well every single time, and you're changing some bad habits that you need to grow out of. Good luck, you guys can do it. Bye.
Hi, the future CFE writers. My name is Zara, and I'm working for a middle-sized accounting firm in Vancouver. I just passed the CFE in 2020 this year. So if I can give 2 tips for the future CFE writers, I have to say the first one would be to have one study buddy. When I say one, I really mean just one, because if you have like 3 or 4 study buddies in one group, you end up spending a lot of time in social conversations. So for my study buddy and I, we made it very clear that for the time that we spend together, most of it should be for the study purposes. So we purposefully cut out a lot of like social conversations and mingling out of the time that we spend during the summertime together. The second tip I would like to give is to have really that serious commitment to the work that you need to do to successfully pass CFE. When I say that, I mean at least 6 hours each day from Monday to Friday. Don't do that during the weekend, otherwise you'll be burning out. But really stick to the timetable set by or suggested by CPA PEP, and really do the work every single day. And you'll find out that if you put in the time and the efforts, the results will be delightful. Thank you.
My top 3 tips on how to prepare for the CFE are: take each day as it comes. Take it one day at a time. It's really overwhelming to think about all the material you're going to have to master before the CFE. So every day, just make a daily plan and work on conquering that. My second tip is to start each day fresh. If you had a tough day the day before, don't bring that negativity into today. Learn from your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. And my last tip is to write every single case with intention. If you write each case like you would in the CFE, then by the time you get to the actual CFE, you're going to feel like you've done it 100 times already. Good luck on your journey.
Hi, my name is Alexis and I graduated from Kwantlen in 2020. I'm currently a CPA student and I'm doing the public route. If I could go back in time and give my old student self some advice, number 1 would be to pay attention and learn more. I know it sounds stupid, but you're not gonna get a chance to relearn this material as well in the CPA program. You're actually expected to already know the foundations and then apply it. And so I remember core 1 They just kind of, you sign in and they're like, okay, well, write a case. And you have to recall everything you learned in university. So if you can put in the time now, ask your professors questions and actually understand the material, you are going to be so much better off than someone that kind of just got by, because it's going to be a reality check. Another thing would be time management. If you are going from university and now you're working a full-time job, bam, that's 40 hours right there. So that could be hard enough. But no, now let's throw in that we're going through the CPA program, and that's at least an extra 15 hours a week. So you need to do your assignments, you need to do your quizzes, hand everything on time. And if you can keep up to date with your weekly assignments, that is going to substantially help you write your test at the end. Because not only now are you getting familiar with the material again, it gives you time to debrief and see what you did wrong. That way you don't make these future mistakes. And you need to get a study schedule that works for you. So I know for me, I would put in an hour or two during my weekdays, and then my weekends are when I would really grind and finish all my assignments and make sure I'm understanding everything. I guess probably the last thing is when you are case writing, hopefully you learn it and can recall it, but when you are, make sure you are allocating a certain amount of time for each issue. Because if you spend all your time in issue 1 and you don't get to touch the other 3 or 4, you're probably not going to pass. So you need to make sure that you are practice writing those cases within your time frame. I know core 1, core 2, it was like an hour. So make sure you're hitting all those points. If you run out of time, move on. Go to the next one, go to the next one. At the very end, if you do have extra time, go back and add points in it and do as much as you can. And also, relax. I remember my first time going through core 1, writing that first test, I was so stressed. Didn't think I passed, thank God I did, but it was really challenging, and so you're not the only one going through it. We've all been there. It's hard to know what to expect when it's your first time. So just relax, study as much as you can, have a support system, study in groups, ask your mentors for advice, but yeah, just take a deep breath and you will be fine. I can do it, you can do it.
Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin. I wrote the CFE in 2019 in September, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys a few tips and tricks that I learned from my time when I was writing. The CPA process isn't quick or easy, so congrats to you guys for making it this far, and yeah, good luck with all of your future studies. Definitely reach out to, prior writers if you have the opportunity to kind of gain any sort of insight from them. It's super valuable. So yeah, good luck to all of you guys. The first tip that I wanted to share with you guys was when you're writing the CFE, half the battle is knowing how to structure your response, and I really mean that. So if you have made it through the modules and you're at the point of writing the CFE, you have most of the technical information in your head that you'll need to know. Of course, you're going to have to study and refresh all that information. There's a little bit more you have to learn, but I found one of the biggest challenges was just learning how to structure your response. So when you're actually in Capstone 2, you're going to be doing cases on a weekly basis. So when you're at that point, make sure you are using the feedback guide. So what that is, that's an Excel template, which is basically like a marking rubric, and it tells you exactly which points the markers are looking for in order to give you points and to basically get through the exam. So that feedback guide is an invaluable tool, and I just really want to highlight that. So when you're, your first week or two into Capstone 2, make sure you're downloading those guides and reading them and comparing them to your response, because it basically outlines which points you need to hit in order to get marks on the exam. And I also just wanted to say, so the CFE is not a game where the more words you get on into your exam, the better you're going to do. You want your answers to be concise and to the point with zero fluff. You don't have time for that. The markers aren't giving you points based on your word count, essentially. So make sure you're concise. Double check, but when I went through, bullet points were okay. I would suggest using full sentences to make sure you're actually making the point that you think you're making. The CFE, you don't get points for just stating facts. Like if you go through the case and just regurgitate it, you're not going to get through. You need to really highlight why these facts are applicable to the argument you're trying to make. And so I always found that bullet points, but complete sentences, it's like a bit of an insurance policy to make sure you are, making the point that you think you're making. And the other thing I wanted to say was kind of along this how to structure your response tangent. I had one TA who used to be a marker, and he told me that when they are marking a materiality calculation, for example, hopefully most of you guys have gone through assurance and kind of know what that means. He would spend 30 to 40 seconds per materiality response. So like really think about what that means. Like if you have a 500 word just wall of text, that's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to the marker. You're probably not going to get the points that you think you're going to get. So you want it to be clean, concise, use your formatting to your advantage, separate paragraphs for each of the points you're going to make, and be really clear and concise. I guess that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here, is just be very clear and deliberate with everything you're putting on that paper, on the exam paper. The second thing I kind of wanted to suggest to you guys is a study buddy is very helpful. You can obviously get through the exam without a study buddy. I personally found it really helpful to see how some of my colleagues or my study buddies were structuring their response. So particularly for something like performance management, just sort of see how they're setting up their answers. So like contribution margin calculation is pretty common. Kind of just like see how they're doing it. Like you want to be clear and concise for the examiner, so it's kind of nice to see how someone else is setting up their answers, and like you can get a lot of valuable information from that. I also found it's good motivation at a certain point. So if you're in the second half of August, you've been studying for 2 months, it's nice to have someone there who's kind of like in the trenches with you. Like, it's a good source of motivation to kind of just keep pushing for that last little bit. And then, just kind of like my third point I wanted to make was the CFE is it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So if you're doing 12-hour days in June, you're probably going to burn out. So I would really suggest taking a look at the study schedule that you either make, or CPA provides one as well. I kind of took theirs and then I kind of tailored it to myself, added in a little bit more technical review, that kind of thing, but really try to stick to that schedule. If you're, you just don't want to burn out, that's not a good situation to be in. So just kind of build that schedule, have faith that it's enough to get you through, and then, just kind of follow that as much as you can. Good luck to you guys. I hope you all get through. Definitely reach out to other people who've gone through it before. It's really, really helpful. And best of luck.
Hey everybody, my name is Dylan Hughes. I graduated from the UBC DAP program in 2017, and I wrote the CFE in 2019, which was the year of sufficient technical difficulties. If I had to go back and give myself any pieces of advice for prospective CFE writers, I have 3 things to say. The first is, when you're going through the process all the way through the PEP program, and especially studying for the CFE, make sure you find yourself a really good study partner, somebody you can bounce ideas off of. In my opinion, definitely somebody who's smarter than you, because that always helps, and somebody who plays to your strengths. So if you're a tax superstar, maybe find somebody who's stronger at audit, and if you're lacking in managerial accounting, find somebody who's really good at that. The second piece of advice I would give is to have a really strong support system outside of your job and the accounting world in general, whether that's family, friends, a partner or spouse, or even a dog. It's just really nice to have that non-accounting thing, so that everything's not just constantly about CFE and CPA and management accounting and audit and tax. It's a nice break. And then the last piece of advice I would have is, when you're going into these module exams and the CFE, understand that strategy is just as important as knowledge. It's really good to understand how these exams work, which the program does a phenomenal job at setting you up to understand. And you never know what kind of curveballs they are going to throw at you, which they will. So understanding how to, for the lack of a better phrase, game the exam. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Hello and good day to you future CPAs. My name is Fayaz Musa and I'm a senior associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I wrote the CFE back in September of 2019, and I think if there was one piece of advice that I would have appreciated back at the very beginning of my journey, similar to all of you, is to remember what the markers at CPA are looking for. And that's demonstrating that you understand the CPA way and how to use it in the context of a case. So let's use day 3 of the CFE as an example. It's when you look to achieve breadth in many different areas of subject matter, including finance, tax, financial reporting, strategy and governance, and audit and assurance. So to start, when you're reading a case and you see an accounting issue of that sort, you want to show that you can identify and understand the issue that your client is facing in the memo that you're writing. Next, in the CPA way, you want to provide a thoughtful analysis of that issue. And that means looking at all the alternatives that the client has to take, and also providing a thoughtful pro and con analysis or any sort of quantitative analysis that the case asks for. Lastly, consistent with your qualitative and quantitative analysis, you really want to make sure that you conclude in line with all the work that you've done. So to quickly summarize, at a very high level, when you see an issue on a CPA Day 3 case, you want to make sure that you identify the issue clearly so that the marker can see they understand what's wrong. Provide a thoughtful analysis looking at all the different options that the client has, and lastly, providing a conclusion in line with that analysis. Good luck to everyone. I'm sure you'll do great.
Hello, I'm here to share some study tips for people who are going to be writing their CFEs in the upcoming year. I wrote mine in 2020 and I passed, so I'm really happy about that. So here's just a few pointers that are great to keep in mind for your next study session. So number 1, for CFE, I would say make a schedule. So your schedule, have a large calendar online, wherever it's easy to access. Make a schedule of all the cases you're going to be writing and submitting. And then in between, you can have your technical study days and then list out exactly which topics you'll be covering those days. And the key would be to stick to your schedule. You want to try not to fall behind because it's hard to catch up, and you want to stick to your deadlines. Number 2 would be have a case tracker. You're going to be writing a lot of cases during your study period, and it's best to keep track of all of them because there are going to be so many. So I had 2 going. One was a more detailed one. So I had the case that I was studying, or the case that I wrote, and then all the topics that were covered, and then a column of, okay, what did I do well and what didn't I do well on? And then I had on the other side a more condensed version where it was, here's the case, this is the date it relates to, these are the topics, so financial reporting, assurance, strategy, and then the competency rating that I got on it. So then it tells me, okay, this is where I stand within that case, and this is what I needed to improve upon. And then number 3 would be repetition. So again, you're writing a ton of cases, you have a lot of information going, and you want to ensure that you are absorbing all that information. So whether you're doing this on a daily basis or you're doing it on a weekly basis, so an hour a day or a couple hours, a few hours a week, you need to go back and look at that detailed case tracker, and look at the case that you wrote, the things you did well, and then the things that you were supposed to improve upon. Those technical topics, you want to keep reviewing them to ensure that you're not going to make those mistakes again. And then number 4 would be get help. If you know you are already weak with certain topics, with certain subjects, maybe it's your technical, maybe it's your case writing, be proactive and get help. I certainly did, and it made a world of difference for me. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I passed. And that's all I have for you. So good luck.
Hey guys, my name is Omar and I wrote the 2020 CFE. A couple tips I have for future CFE writers is to first get a good study group, whether that's 1 person, 2 people, or a larger group, whatever you're most comfortable with. Having a second set of eyes look over your exam papers and having the chance to look over someone else's exam papers it gives you the opportunity to see a lot of different strategies that you can use to succeed on the CFE. The second thing is get a good plan. There's a lot of cases that will show up in that summer, and getting the chance to tackle each one at least once is incredibly important, because there's a very good chance that what you see over the summer is going to show up again on the CFE. And finally, don't be afraid to take breaks when you need to. The summer leading up to the CFE is extremely long, and there's a lot of cases to write, so you want to avoid burnout as much as possible. So good study plan, good study group, and take breaks when you need to. Those are my 3 tips, and good luck to all the future CFE writers out there.